Hey everyone, I'm here with my longtime friend, Amy Ippoliti. Let's start with a little bow of mutual respect and a reminder of your mission in your life and your mission. What's your mission in your life generally, or what's our dedication?
To make a difference in the world.
All right, shall we bow?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, come on in. I'm doing the video, so I
You
can't
guys
talk.
are not live.
We are live right now.
We're not seeing you
I just went live.
on EJ.
It's live. Yeah, thank you, man. Anyway, that's just a little delay to give you guys time to tune in. So, first of all, let's resolve one of the most serious yoga controversies of the last 40 years. How do we say your last name?
You said it right.
Amy Ippoliti.
Yeah.
So think poll. All right,
That's
if
it.
anyone is
Good
tuning
job.
in, say where you're from, and if you have a question for Amy or a comment, please leave it. Say where you're from, maybe how your day was, and how you're trying to make a difference, or if you have a question for Amy. So Amy, for those of you who don't know, is a big time, you're a huge yoga teacher. You're huge. Maybe
Wow.
that joke is getting lost.
Although I'm kind of small.
Yeah, she's a little bit tiny in real life. But your presence is huge. So you and I were both hanging out over at Hanuman. You were a big, famous, prominent teacher, and I was a journalistic interloper. How was your experience of Hanuman Festival here in Boulder, Colorado?
Well, I always love the spirit at Hanuman Festival. People are very enthusiastic. There's just a lot of good vibes, good energy. There's just a spirit about that particular festival that has a unique quality of its own. And so the other really awesome thing for me is that everybody comes to Boulder, my hometown, so I can have people over, I can drive people around,
Right.
I can help host all my friends, community comes to me. It's a luxury.
It's a great little town to have a big event in,
Yeah.
or a
yeah.
mid-sized town or whatever.
Yeah.
So I asked about Hanuman to begin, not to make it some little in-yoga thing, but you and I, and particularly you, but I've been to my share, have been to yoga journal conferences all over, Wanderlust conferences all over, Hanuman, Telluride, whatever. There's a million big and small festivals. And now that is beginning to change in some ways. Wanderlust didn't do a Colorado festival this year. Yoga Journal is having all kinds of interesting developments or transitions or issues and isn't going to do a festival. Their big famous first festival in Estes Park that I adore, up with the elk in the Rocky Mountains. They're not going to do it. And Hanuman has some issues this year. So what's going on with the yoga community kind of nationally? There's good and there's challenging developments.
Yeah, well, I think one of the cool developments is that the community is connected by social media. So we're very much connected by
Like right
social
here?
media.
With Lubbock, Texas, Tustin, California, San Francisco,
hey
Amarillo, Grand Cayman, Colorado.
Yay. So we're connected by digital threads, and people are meeting each other because of that, and there's a lot of conversation online about yoga, and so I think that's the positive. What I sort of sense is that people are living their lives inside their iPhones.
Right.
So that we have these little supercomputers.
Do you mind if I Instagram story this while you talk?
Sure. Oh my God.
I'm kidding.
So yeah, we have these little worlds, like it's a supercomputer that we're holding on to. And
It's sort of like Black Mirror.
Yeah.
Where you can like someone
dive in
or like not
to a whole world.
swipe them.
Right.
Yeah.
You can dive into this whole world, and so there's this way that you can spend so much time on an iPhone diving into a whole world that you're not actually having a life. You're not having a life in the
Are you
flesh.
talking about me right now? So for like 15 years, I've been ahead of the curve. I've been ahead of everyone in this of not having a life because I've been online so much, and that I viewed as a sacrifice. But now everyone's doing it by choice. Instagram
I never
stories,
felt
Snapchat.
that way about you, I have to say.
Oh, that's sweet.
Okay.
But there was an aspect of like me living on Facebook and posting all these articles and working to establish
Right.
Elephant. You and I are pretty well established in Instagram followings and etc. Facebook fans, whatever. We have 5 million Facebook fans and #1 in the country on Twitter, Twice for Green, etc., etc. So how, I guess, to cut to the chase, how do we, and you were saying earlier, like, what's the effect of all that drowning in social media, that two-dimensional world, on a national scale?
Well, I think that there's a lot of issues surrounding being on social media or living inside a black mirror. One is that it's harder to have eye contact when you are just always looking at a screen.
Right.
Young people especially have a real tough time making eye contact because they never make eye contact. They look at their screen.
Yeah.
Then it's harder to have empathy for others. It's harder to have real conversations where we're listening and debating and having a kind of exchange. And then I think there's also the...
Right, like a respectful human
Yeah.
exchange with someone. If you're a Trump fan in person, we might have a meaningful, kind dialogue like I've had a few times.
Mhm.
But online,
It's
everyone's
like road
enemy.
rage. It's the
Yeah.
road rage factor.
right, road rage.
And then there's FOMO, the fear of missing out, that creates lack of self-esteem. So there's a lot of issues with the sort of the increase of use and the increase of addiction to a device that actually gives you a dopamine hit whenever you
Yeah.
open it up, because
Yeah.
it's something new. It's always something new. It's like a new relationship. You're drowning in dopamine because it's fresh and exciting. And your phone always has something new and exciting on it, right? Always. So we're very much addicted to it. We can't be alone anymore without feeling like we want to pick up the device.
So
And
Louis C.K. did this amazing video you might have seen where he's saying it's like an itch and you scratch it all the time, the
I
online
need to
stuff.
watch that.
And then you never relax and allow yourself, like you were saying, to feel empathy or sadness or grief. And then if you do allow yourself to feel all those feelings, loneliness, whatever it is, you're itching Facebook or Reddit or whatever to get away from those tough feelings. But if you allow yourself to feel that, then you can kind of cry and relax. And then he says he went through this, and then you feel overwhelming sense of joy and appreciation for your life. It's renewed,
Yeah, very good.
Yeah,
point.
so Louis C.K., why he doesn't want his kids to have iPhones or phones, Callie, if you want to put that in the comments.
Oh, cool. Yeah.
And we're putting, Amy, your articles, you've written a bunch of great articles on
neat.
elephant, your videos and whatever in the comments if people want to check those out.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Right on.
And then we'll get to questions, so ask your questions and comments. Okay.
Yeah, so I think that what's I would say tough about is that we're with these events, going back to the events and the decline in events happening. One, I think it's probably reached a bit of an apex. Like
Saturation.
Like saturation. There's enough events, so
Yeah.
like let's pare it back. But I also think that a lot of people are living in their devices and not saying, wow, I really want to prioritize being with the community and going to an event.
Right.
And at the same time, I'm also seeing a pendulum swing back to, instead of living in a two-dimensional, like Instagram yoga reality, seeing a lot of my students in particular saying, I want to be around you, I want to mentor with you, I want to get under your wing.
So this is the good news.
Learn
this-
what you have to offer. And I recognize that my success is not necessarily or really truthfully going to come from building a big following on a social media platform and that being my credibility, but it's really going to be putting in the hours with someone who's been there before. And so that's been very touching to me to see that there are young students that want that want to like travel around and stick together with me and like really stick with it. And their devotion's been really inspiring because I haven't seen that in a while. So I feel like
So
there's
even
this
in your own
pendulum
career
going
with all
back.
your students, you're seeing more longing or devotion for deep studying and
like
practice.
what I did. I mean, I
Yeah.
did that for 15 years. I was
Yeah.
like attached, to my mentors.
Yeah, it's funny. A
Yeah.
couple years ago, maybe Callie, you could search for it. I wrote how to become a celeb yogi or how to become a famous yoga teacher, and it was a snarky kind of thing, but it was serious, and it was like
Yeah.
had nothing to do with practice. Like number 7 out of
Yeah.
the 10 things was learn how to do some yoga.
Mm.
It was all, or meditate or what have you, but it was all about like build up your Instagram following, name yourself something cool, that kind of stuff. And that really is the career path these days. And this isn't a black and white, like two old people, maybe one old person, but none of these things are bad. Like in Elephant Academy, our online training program, we I was saying this to you earlier, we talked about how to use social media to be a benefit to the world in your own career and your own path, instead of being used by it, which is so easy to do. It's so well designed. They actually have a term for that. I forgot that term, a tech term, to keep you always kind of wanting one more drip.
Yeah, well, notifications on your phone is a way that Silicon Valley keeps you engaged.
Facebook asks me like 28 times a week on my mobile to allow notifications, and I always say no.
Say no. Turn all your
It's
notifications
so irritating
off.
that it keeps asking. But,
Notifications are evil.
Yeah.
Turn them off.
Yeah, because we could be having, you and Taro, your boyfriend, or you're not married or something.
We're basically married.
You're basically married, but whatever. You could be having the best brunch on a Saturday morning, reading the Sunday New York or the Saturday New whatever, the paper, and enjoying your coffee, and had a long week, and you're just really relaxing, and then it's like bing bong, bing bing bing,
Exactly.
Like it's like popcorn. It's like whack-a-mole.
Yeah, put it in airplane mode, man.
Right. And face down. That's my other little
face down.
It's pretty obvious, but if you're gonna have it around, have it face down.
I mean, a year ago we put out a course on our online and in-person school for yoga teachers called Teaching Yoga in the Digital Age. Course is still up, but it was.
I feel like that should be a pop song.
Yeah.
Yoga in the digital age.
Oh man. But we, it was almost sort of prophetic that we did it literally a year ago this week is when we launched. But it was kind of prophetic because the whole premise was, if yoga teachers can't work with their addiction to technology and then be able to share that with their students, then we're really in trouble. Yoga teachers need to lead the charge.
You can't criticize Donald Trump for being crazy on social media if we can't engage mindfully.
So that, and then it was sort of prophetic because a lot of my concern in creating the course was like, we're losing our attention span, we're losing our focus. I don't feel as smart anymore. I don't feel as intellectual or smart or sharp as I used to. And I know, of course, I'm aging, so there's partly that, but no, this is weird. This is too weird.
I don't want to be rude, but, when I first met you, you were definitely you were on it. No. No, you're right. A staff person just sent me I don't know, 1,000-word comment in my Skype about how things were going, and I was like, oh, I can't read that. And you're just like, who are you? Back in the 90s, I read books. I can't read a 1,000-word comment from a thoughtful editor.
Right, it's like, ain't nobody got time for that.
Yeah, I'm like, I got 88 things to do. 99. I got 99 problems, and your 1,000-page Skype message ain't one of them.
Yeah, and meditating is more challenging. You're just like, what's the phone doing?
Yeah, I just meditate for 5 seconds now. It's no problem. Right. I got things to do. No, it's crazy. One of my favorite routines for many years was taking hot baths with, Epsom salts or whatever, and reading the New Yorker. And then a couple years ago, my phone started sneaking into the bath, and I started I don't know, because people would call. It was the notifications thing. People would call or whatever. Texting. And then I'm starting to ruin so now I don't take baths anymore because I was like, it's ruined.
Oh no.
No, I just need to hide my phone. I need to get a flip phone or something.
Yeah, old school.
Yeah.
But that's what
with a big camera hanging from my
there's
neck.
Definitely things you can do to boundary your use of the phone, and I think that's our only because of course the phone isn't evil. It's not a bad thing.
No.
It's
awesome.
It's incredibly connective and so helpful. It's so rare that we can't find each other anymore when we're meeting up in a new location. You can just text or
it's
call.
It's such a
or
90s
whatever.
comment. I'm always back in the 90s, you would plan, I lived in Boston, you'd plan to meet someone on a street corner, and if you wait on the wrong corner,
you didn't see them.
or 5 minutes too late, your whole plan for the
Done.
whole day was over.
Right.
It changed.
But now you can be like, I'm on the corner, yeah.
I'm coming.
Right, you can drop a pin for
I'm
your
half an hour
location.
late. Yeah. I'm Ubering over.
So, there's obviously, we don't want to bash the technology because it's extremely
Yeah, you can watch your pizza arrive.
outrageously amazing.
That's magic. That's
exactly.
like Harry Potter stuff.
Totally.
Yeah.
So incredible, and at the same time, if we don't have boundaries around it, there's a lot of things you can do, like making your bedroom a tech-free zone, get an actual alarm clock that tells the time, and then you can put
does
your
nothing
phone in
else.
another room
Right.
in airplane mode, charging at
I
night.
like that. That's a good tip.
So
Look at
many tips. We go over those.
Mindful tips by Amy. What
Yeah.
other tips like that? I love that.
There's so many. I mean, having a screen-free dinner. So, like breaking bread with friends or family. And
While watching TV, though.
no, total tech-free.
While standing up,
Tech-free, no.
eating
like,
out of plastic, while walking,
No.
or doing, wow.
sitting down, putting all the phones in a basket,
Mm.
and just having a dinner.
It's
party.
relaxing just to visualize that.
I know. Yeah, and then of course scheduling. You know, if you hike and you usually listen to a podcast or you talk to someone on the phone or whatever you do with your digital device, leave it behind. You know, actually go on the hike
Right.
and enjoy nature. You know,
Yeah.
to find ways of unplugging from it.
But how are you going to text 5 people while stubbing your toe while walking down from your hike? No, it's great. Those things are so. We talk about the exact same stuff. It's funny. We should get our academies together and have a big party
Yeah.
without screens. Because we talk a lot about, like, if you see that gorgeous flower and you haven't posted on Instagram for a while, don't post it on Instagram. Like, actually give yourself the gift of experiencing that flower in the present moment. And then just keep going. It's such a powerful thing to reclaim your life from working for. We're all working for Instagram, basically. We're all, and again, nothing, like Amy keeps saying, this isn't evil. We're all connecting all over the world, and that's beautiful. But it's like, it's a tool. It's a hammer that can be used as a cudgel or as a thing to build houses. Right?
Exactly. Yeah, and I'm as addicted as the next person to the technology, but I guess I'm most looking forward to consciously planning a retreat where there's no signal and I actually detox completely. I got to do that about a year or so ago, and it was literally 7 days of no internet use.
Yeah.
I was like a kid in a candy shop.
Wow.
It was a radical experience.
Not to like one up you in some sort of mindfulness contest, but when I was growing up in the Buddhist community, we would go up to Shambhala Mountain Center or wherever and do these 3-month retreats, and there was no internet available anywhere, and there was no Facebook or YouTube or anything. But we weren't even allowed to read newspapers. So for 3 months, you existed without, and you could. I don't think you.
I've done those retreats too.
I think you could make phone calls to family on your days off, but while doing the retreat, you were meditating. You were still. Yeah, I'm sure you.
I didn't do it for 3 months. Not for 3 months.
Yeah, I did many of those.
I did like the 10 days.
Like every summer. So it was like, and you would come out to the world and you'd go to a diner and you'd like look at everything and it would be like, oh my God.
Crazy. Yeah, stimulating.
Yeah, and you'd come back and meditate again for the next period and you'd be like thinking about that diner for like 10 days and you realize the effect the world has on your.
Yeah.
And it's not that the world's bad, we can't get into that, but we have to.
Yeah.
What do we have to do?
Well, the pulling back, I mean, I was telling my mom just yesterday on the phone that when I did one of those silent retreats where we weren't allowed to journal, read, make eye contact.
What?
It was with Sharon Salzberg at
No eye contact? What's up with that? It's like
no
an introvert.
no eye contact unless you were having your session with the teachers, and then you could talk and like, but you only did that once or twice the whole week.
So we should do the next 5 minutes with no eye contact.
Yeah, I want eye contact now. But, so it was this lack of stimulation, but what it did for me is that I had, up until that point, had a real tough time with being alone. So if I was just sitting in a room with no stimuli like book, TV, because there wasn't iPhones back then, but if I was alone, I really almost couldn't stand to be alone. So I would have to flip on
And we
the
all go
television.
through that, right? All of us.
Yeah, and
Dealing
after
with
that
loneliness.
retreat,
We're good.
I'm good now. Like that, it changed my DNA almost. Like if you put me in a room with nothing to do, of course I'd rather have an iPhone or a book or a TV, but I'm like, I'm good. I'll just sit here. Like I'll meditate, I'll do mantra, whatever. I'm cool.
You'll be okay with
But
solitaire.
before, man, it was like, where's the TV?
Right.
You know?
And I think we're all like that. I blogged a lot about how, like, in my 20s, I was totally humiliated and embarrassed if I wasn't going out on a Thursday or Friday or Saturday night and my roommates came home and I was just like hanging out at home.
Yeah.
It was like, I'm cool, I'm not cool.
Yeah.
So intense
I
when
hear
you
you.
hear it sometimes.
Hi.
So let me look at a couple questions.
Okay, yeah.
But we're basically, just to recap where we're at, you're saying that things have swung toward the sort of Trump Twitter, two-dimensional, incessant online stuff, but it's also swinging in the other direction of deeper connection and people longing for that.
Yeah, and people are over it.
Yeah, right. So yeah, we continue to put blogs in the comments. Most of them are by Amy, and some are about what we're talking about. Riga, Latvia. Holly's on summer break. Hey, Holly. Holly's a regular. Jackie. Fabulous, fabulous. I would love to ask if there's a particular yoga style that does not use so much core strength. I am unable to do core strength exercises at all permanently. Some injury maybe. Love yoga and want to be able to continue a practice from years ago in a safe way.
Yeah, there's definitely yoga that doesn't engage the core too much.
That's Jackie.
Okay, hey Jackie, beautiful. I think that some of the trends of yoga is like core is really trendy. Like, people feel like they get a workout and they get really strong and that kind of thing. But there's a lot of stretchy yoga as well. And yoga that's a bit more mindful or meditative or
like yin or restorative.
Yin and restorative, but even alignment-based yoga, which is something that I do. Of course, it'll have some core. I mean, you have to hold yourself up. Like I'm using my core right now to sit.
Right.
But the alignment-based yoga, at least that I teach, is it's mindful in the sense that if you have an injury, like maybe your core situation is because of an injury, we would look at that. We would do the practice around your needs. So I think it's a matter of finding a teacher that can address your needs. And some of the more common yoga classes out there are kind of working off of a formula that might be more core based. And so you just have to find those more eclectic classes or eclectic teachers that have a little bit more versatility, if that makes sense. I hope that helps.
And also maybe where do you live and are there good online resources?
Well, Yoga Glow.
Boom!
YogaGlow.com, GLO.com is where I teach, and I'm online there with a bunch of phenomenal yoga teachers, 5,000 classes, over 5,000 classes.
And is there any way to search for like non-core stuff? What would you search for?
I don't know if you could search non-core, but
Hardcore?
you could search, restorative. You could research, I think like body parts that, like hip opening. You're not going to get a lot of core, that kind of thing. That's a good question. Yeah, hope that helps.
Yeah, find Amy on Yoga Glow. Do they own Yoga Glow with a W.com?
I don't know.
Because I would think half the searches would always go there.
It's GLO.
Yep.
Yeah.
Diane Murphy, so happy you're talking about the issue re phone and social media. I am planning to take a break from it all this summer.
Nice.
Yeah, little breaks are nice. There's lots of articles also, Callie, on digital detox or breaks. Hi from Marin, from Sunlight Yoga Publishers. Waylon, I so appreciate how you use Instagram and social media to try to help
suffering.
to try and reduce suffering in animals and vegan education. Are you vegan or you talk about that kind of stuff?
I'm
You're not
primarily
vegan.
vegan.
That's when it's used as a positive tool en masse. So yeah, that is something I do talk about, and I think it's a little unique in that I don't think I'm better than non-vegans, and I don't care if you are vegan. It's none of my business.
Mm-hmm.
It's sort of like just an analogy, if I thought it was my business that you never wore blue pants ever again, that would be sort of weird.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe you wouldn't mind if I told you why blue pants are a problem.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe the blue dye is poisoning liver or something. But it would be sort of weird. But I can talk about why I don't wear blue pants and the joy I have in not wearing blue pants and how there's actually many delicious other flavors of pants to wear.
Yeah.
And that's more accessible.
I think that with the vegan thing, it's sort of like if we all went vegan, the world would actually, like the climate would stop getting warm.
It's huge.
Like eating animal products is the single biggest thing that contributes to climate change. So if everybody stopped eating animals or animal products, the temperature would go down. However, people are not going to do that. So it's sort of like, can you reduce your consumption? Like, this doesn't have to be this extreme thing if, like, veganism isn't, like, healthy for you. There's a lot of people that would argue that it's healthy for everybody, but there's too many people that don't believe that and
I
don't
wouldn't make
feel
either.
that.
Can I touch on that point? Because that's a
Yeah.
common. People say I tried vegan, but I got weak, and
Yeah.
so I wouldn't argue it's healthy for everyone. But what I would say is often when people go vegan, they just take off all the meat, and
eat
then they
French fries.
eat the sides. Yeah, and
They don't
you
do
actually
it
have
right.
to think of it as a holistic meal. So, like here in Boulder, we're just
Mhm.
starting a vegan potluck, and 90% of the people who go are not vegan, and they don't maybe care about becoming vegan. But it's just a nice experience to have this huge feast of delicious
Yeah,
vegan food that's fun and
Mhm.
good people.
totally. I think that there's two things. Like, one, if you are going to go vegan, you got to do it right, like you're saying. The other thing is that if everyone on the planet actually reduced their consumption of animal products, say you have a meatless Monday, or if you eat 2 meat meals a day, you reduce it to 1, or everybody consciously did that, we would also see a massive change in the climate. So
And in your core, speaking of cores, I mean,
Yeah,
it's
so-
really a healthy thing to do, actually, if you do it mindfully.
but I also think that we'll get a lot farther if we use the moderation argument versus the you have to go cold turkey.
Totally.
Like,
And-
we're gonna get farther.
And even
with that.
beyond moderation,
Yeah.
even if you want to be extreme about it, like I'm an extreme vegan. Extreme vegan.
I was a stone cold vegan.
You don't have to be a jerk about it.
Totally.
Like
I was a jerk about it when I was a teenager.
right, everyone gets so self-righteous. It's like
Mhm.
the most anti-smoker is the person who like smoked yesterday.
Mhm.
You know, they're like, smoking's evil, it's horrible, and you're like, didn't you just smoke a pack a day up until yesterday? And they're like, yeah, I hate it now.
Yeah.
It's like we can not hate things and actually change the world for the better. I know that's sort of obvious,
Mhm.
but maybe it's not obvious because we're not doing it.
Yeah.
So how do we get on the vegan thing?
Someone said something about how they're psyched that you're helping animals.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Someone asked about it.
And there was another question.
I thought I just was forcing that
What
conversation
makes a
down.
good yoga teacher?
Yeah, Leslie, what makes a good yoga teacher and or a bad yoga teacher? I've loved that question. It just bounced. I've heard people speak about where to go using such comments. I didn't get that part, but what makes a good or bad yoga teacher? What's the key?
Wow, that's a big topic, Leslie. You know, when I think of the word good in
Yeah.
the context of it being a teacher, I think of like skilled, or I think of the way in which they're, they're good at their technique, they're well studied, they've trained really well, they're effective in how they communicate, their students get results. It's like more technical.
So define good in a thoughtful way.
Yeah, so now a great yoga teacher, that goes to a whole different level, not a better level, but a different level of, they're a good role model, they walk their talk, they are, a leader in some ways, they have integrity, they're
They
honest.
have more than 1 million Facebook and Instagram followers minimum.
And it's like, if they smoke cigarettes, they're going to say, hey, I'm smoking and I'm working on it, versus like, smoking in the corner and then saying, hey, don't smoke. That's a great yoga teacher. And so there's a little bit of a difference between good and great. And then a bad yoga teacher would really be the opposite of those two things. It's like, in the good department, like not well trained, not effective in their communication, maybe not on time, not professional, like all the opposites of those things. Like they're just not effective, and that would be the opposite of good. The opposite of great would be dishonest, lacking integrity, thinking that they get a spiritual pass just because they're a guru, or that kind of thing. Sleazy, snake oil saleswoman or man type of stuff. And so that would be a bad yoga teacher. Is really the opposite.
And I love that nothing of what you said has to do with age or fitness. It
or
has
what
to do
style they're teaching,
with
or
integrity
anything.
and training
Yes.
and intention.
Yeah.
I wrote a blog, maybe Callie can put it in the comments, called The Future of Yoga, where it defines, which is obviously a highly suspect thing to do, but I attempted to define good yoga and bad yoga. And so that might be interesting to some people.
Yeah, I hope that's helpful.
It was somewhat well received, and basically I just copied what Amy said. La la la. Oh, Travis is the guy on duty. Sorry, I thought it was Kelly. Jane, hello from Oregon. Interesting to mention addiction to technology for yoga teachers from Diana. Oh, she's in our academy. Hey.
Oh, cool.
Is it really an addiction or just a tool to use to market yourself, the technology? Of course, it's both, right?
Yes. Yes.
You have a choice, and you make that choice every single time you put in airplane mode or put your bed by the...
And you can gate your marketing time. Like you can say, I'm gonna, do Instagram for 30 minutes, and then you're using it as a tool, and you're not addicted. But when you're just like, oh, I'm gonna go take a crap now. Where's my phone?
Right.
You sit there for way longer than it takes to take the crap.
And type out covfefe and...
Right.
That's something I really do, like in my relationships, friendships, my colleagues, whatever. I say, I'm going to Instagram now. Like, I kind of announce it, so they're not trying to talk to me. I'm not multitasking and half present doing both and doing both badly.
Mm-hmm.
I actually just do it fully. And I was saying recently on some video, like, it's so inspiring every time you see someone like in a big city like New York, when they pulled over, they're on the sidewalk, they've walked over to the side of the sidewalk and they're just doing it. They're fully texting, and then the person texting gets their full attention. And
texting while walking. Got it.
That's me walking into a
cold. That's a great little tip.
I found Jane. I found it as a matter of being self-aware and knowing your limits.
Yeah.
Well said. Griselda, I enjoy being alone. However, when you're out and not out, and you're not on a device, others do judge you. Oh, when you're out alone, not doing anything, totally. Well, do they judge you, or do you just feel judged,
People judge you for not being on your device? That's insane.
Well, I think the notion is, like, at least the way I connect with that, Griselda, is, like, every single time I go to the kitchen, say, like a popular restaurant here, and I go to the bathroom, every single time I ever come back, my friend is on their phone.
Oh, yeah.
And it's like, you can't just sit there and look around and enjoy your surroundings and maybe talk to the waiter or just do nothing.
And it's why people are getting into accidents and murdering each other on the road.
Yeah.
Because they can't stand to not look at their email for a second.
Looks like we missed that Louis C.K. blog. We're missing a lot of the blogs I mentioned. But
come on later.
we've probably already forgotten about them. But there's Yoga Glow. So we're 1 for 5. All right. Where were we? Griselda. Oh yeah, Louis C.K. in that video, that's what reminded me, says people would rather scratch that itch of having to be on their phones or whatever than
drive.
They're willing to kill other people and maybe themselves rather than put that phone down.
Yeah, and I just realized his work is one that I cited a lot when I developed the course, Teaching Yoga in the Digital Age.
Huh.
It just clicked.
Yeah.
Yeah, we quoted him a lot.
Yeah, he's a funny, profound dude.
Yeah.
Dana from Barcelona. Gentle and integral yoga was a suggestion when you were talking about less core. Just feeling awkward when you're alone. I enjoy being alone. Hello from Zendo Yoga in Oklahoma. Hello, Samantha. I feel like we're taking calls on a radio station now. Try Gentle Integral Yoga 2 for adaptive yoga. Most cities have centers. A sweet sequence, rather gentle.
Amy helps promote the animals for the oceans. That's true.
Yes, you do. What do you do with the oceans?
So, I don't know if you all have seen some of the imagery we've put out.
Very famous.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. It was on Reddit. It's been on Reddit like twice. I told Taro.
Yeah. So, Taro, my partner, and I, we free dive and tend to go down underwater.
Free diving means what?
Like going underwater and holding your breath.
With no oxygen
tank.
Equipment.
And we take photographs of me doing yoga underwater with these phenomenal marine animals like manta rays and whale sharks and dolphins and other things. But our idea was that, activism typically is, it's like, oh, let's show the horror of something. Like, let's show the brutality of, harvesting marine animals from the oceans. And then it's supposed to make you feel bad so that you take action and do something. But in our world of these crazy feeds that we have, people generally don't want to see bummerific stuff. They want to see things that are more awe-inspiring. So what we realize is that Taro had started out sort of documenting the shark finning industry and the kind of gruesomeness of that, and it wasn't really moving the needle of raising
People were liking it.
the awareness. Well, I don't know if they well, right, that they weren't liking
Right.
it, and so it doesn't get any traction on
Right.
Facebook. But so they did a shoot in the Philippines with actual interspecies interconnection, and those images went viral. And I said, I want in on that, but for yoga.
Yeah.
And so I started to train.
So like an amazing manta ray or whatever, and you doing some yoga
Right.
pose underwater.
Right, and being without any equipment, it was like me and the manta ray, like in our, obviously in the manta ray's element, but that manta ray then no longer is this alien creature, but something that I'm connected with. And because of the beauty of it and the sort of intrigue of it, it gets shared, and it gets, there's a conversation that happens in the comments about like, well, what is that? Isn't that the thing that stung Steve Irwin and killed him? Actually, no, that was a stingray. This is a manta ray, they don't sting. So there's this kind of awareness that gets built up in the comments.
Nice.
And then the virality
Virality.
of it is because it's awe-inspiring. And so the result is people start donating to organizations that are helping the oceans.
Does that happen?
It does,
From those
definitely.
viral posts?
Definitely.
That's so great.
And people start cleaning up the beach, being more conscious of plastic use and all that stuff that affects the ocean down the line.
Mm.
So,
Plastic. Don't get me started on plastic.
Yeah, let's not.
So let's put in some articles on vegan transition. The Louis C.K. something about not giving his daughters, why he's not giving them phones. Heading in the vegan direction, so vegan about 90% of the time, slowly, organically getting there.
Nice. Good
Yeah,
job.
so there's a ton of articles on vegetarianism, on veganism, on eating meat mindfully, all on elephant. We don't push one particular approach other than maybe meat eaters, vegetarians, vegans. We can all agree that factory farming is not a positive. So we are pretty clearly anti-factory farming.
Anytime you eat out, it's really rare that you're going to find animal products that are not factory farmed.
It's so sad
Here in Boulder.
because I love eating nachos, and I couldn't, when I was vegetarian, I couldn't eat nachos at like Mountain Sun, which is like my favorite thing ever, because the cheese is like straight up from
Right,
factory
straight
farm
up,
suffering.
yeah.
It's
There
it's
are
sad.
good vegan nachos now.
There's amazing problem solved now. There's
Gracias Madre in LA. Holy smokes, the
Yeah.
nachos.
and also just there's amazing vegan cheeses for the very first time, and I don't say
The
that
nut
as a
cheeses.
vegan.
Hello, the nut cheeses.
Yeah, hello.
Whoa.
I don't say that as a
I'm
weird
addicted to
vegan.
that.
I say that as someone who loves cheese and never expected good
Oh,
alternatives.
so good.
There's Miyako or whatever.
Oh, I use hers all the
The
time.
butter is amazing,
Yeah.
and it's made out of actually
All the
healthier
soft
stuff.
cheeses, and there's a garden heart one,
Oh, I don't know that one.
provolone, American mozzarella, and pepper jack.
And there's my other favorite, chow field roast. Have you had that?
I think that my father's ex-girlfriend's family is that company.
What?
Yep.
Well, tell them I am a fan because it is so good.
Wow.
It's made out of cashew and stuff. It's not soy. It's not all this weird stuff. It actually melts on the. We've touched on like almost everything in the Portlandia menu now. All right, it's okay. Random blogs. There's yoga. The ancient wisdom of Californians is the future of yoga. Thank you. Nailed it. There's Sophie Miller, who just did Hanuman. Oh, there's Louis C.K. Look, happy. Hello from Wales. I'm part Welsh. Aloha. Do you live in Hawaii? Because we're trying to hire someone in Hawaii right now. All right. 5 tips for making the vegan transition. Look, you're nailing it. All right. Love cheese.
cheese.
Yeah, everyone loves cheese, except for obviously maybe the animals giving it up to us.
Right.
All right. So we've covered right now, but if you have more questions or comments, go nuts.
Excellent.
No pun intended, because we're talking about nut-based cheeses.
Yeah.
So let's get back to yoga industry, yoga community a little bit, because you're someone I really respect on that subject. How can we, those of us who love yoga practice, how can we be helpful in moving the yoga industry and the yoga community, which are often two different things and often the same thing? How can we help them move forward in a wonderful direction so that, once the wonderful teachers of the last generation have passed on, we still have genuine yoga. It's not all just sort of aerobics with
Right.
no alignment or breath or.
Right. I think that a lot of it is, if you are an aspiring yoga teacher, get with a teacher who's been doing this for over a decade.
Who are a couple you really love and respect who you would send them to, other than yourself?
Oh, my
You have-
colleagues,
Yeah.
all of my colleagues.
Who are your colleagues?
I mean, everybody who presented at the Hanuman Festival, for example.
But how about like just name 5, so it's not uncomfortable that you're not leaving people out. I'm
Oh
limiting you
man,
to
that's
5.
harsh. Because how do I even limit it, right?
Well, I'll say a couple I love.
Okay.
Richard Freeman, Mary
Yes.
Taylor.
Yes.
You. I like your, what's it called, 90 Monkeys?
90 Monkeys.
All
That's
that
our
training
school,
stuff.
Yeah.
But specifically good trainings, not just good teachers. Good
Yeah.
trainings.
I would say.
So basically, I'm just mentioning bolder people so far, so I'm trying to get you to come here.
Yeah, I know, right?
Hmm.
I think Kia Miller and Tommy Rosen are great people to work with. Jason Crandall is a phenomenal person to work with. My Yoga Glow colleagues who I'm thinking of, Rod Stryker.
Love Rod.
Yeah. Gosh.
Rod Stryker.
Yeah.
Sounds like such an
Anna
80s,
Forrest.
80s action movie name. Rod Stryker.
Yeah, totally.
It's mad, and it's back.
Yeah.
This time, Soviet Russia is,
Oh, God.
trembling in their boots. All right, sorry.
Anna Forrest.
Anna Forrest is
Shiva
amazing.
Ray.
Anna Forrest did an incredible interview with me. I mean, I've interviewed all these people. If you search on youtube.com/Elephant Journal for any of these people, we've interviewed all of them so far.
Noah Maze.
I don't know if I've interviewed Noah. We've talked.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
But doing good, real, legit training.
Shiva Ray, you said.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
What about Eric Schiffman?
Oh my God,
Love Eric Schiffman.
Love him.
Love him.
Yeah.
Hello.
Yeah. So I would say getting really good training, but also sticking with a teacher and,
Yeah.
and getting under their wing
Not just shopping around
is
all the
really
time.
important. And then I also think that being brave in your yoga classes, in the sense that you're not just sticking to the formula of what you learned in your teacher training. And so, like, here's the sequence, inhale, do this, exhale, do that. But you're doing your best to bring your fullest, most genuine, real self to the table, and not being afraid to bring in the issues of our time into class, and to give the students something to contemplate that would help them have a life that's more meaningful. So that it isn't just, we are here working out and kind of stretching in Sanskrit.
And it's a party.
And it's party. We're really contemplating how we can enhance our lives, how we can make a difference in the world. And don't be shy about having sort of like a deep theme to your class and bringing it past just the physical. Like, how are they going to take this off the mat? How is their experience on the mat something that they can use almost like a training camp for the real world? So, for example, if you fall out of a pose, how can that be a learning opportunity about who you are in that moment when you fall? Do you laugh at yourself? Do you
Right,
hate
I love
yourself?
that.
And then take that into your life, so that yoga isn't just this two-dimensional thing, which
love
isn't
that.
helping anybody.
Yeah, yoga isn't about perfection. It's about how do you comport yourself when you fall down and fail with a sense of humor or
Yeah.
openness.
Make it contemplative is really, I think that's what people are craving more and more right now, is they're craving connection, they're craving depth, and that's what it's about. We got some people walking in and out.
Yeah, sorry, a little chaos. How do we comport ourselves when there's chaos?
Yeah.
So, what about a couple tips? Like, Jess is a friend of ours mutually. She did your training, and I've seen her like teaching and making a living. What are a couple like mindful tips for making a living as a yoga teacher? Because nothing's wrong with
Yeah.
that. That's kind of the point
Well,
for the yoga teachers.
Get my book,
Get your book.
The Art and Business of Teaching Yoga.
Okay.
You'll have tips galore for the rest of your life.
Question answered.
That's really, but I can give a few.
No. Well,
I can give a few.
we're happy to send people to the book. That sounds great.
Yeah, I mean, I think relationship building is big. It's like there's a tendency for yoga teachers to walk into the classroom, do their thing, and then leave. But when you actually ask your students how they're doing and build rapport and even introduce the students to each other, then you're building community. And community is the single biggest reason people show up for an event or a class.
Right.
That's been true in the fitness industry, but it's also true in the yoga world.
Right.
And so if you actually introduce people to each other, and you can also qualify that introduction and go, hey, this person makes, handmade soap, and this person, has written a book on blah, blah, blah. You guys totally need to meet.
Yeah.
And it's because you've shown interest in those people that you know who they are and how, they might mesh with one another. And then you're actually creating community. And creating community is the single biggest thing you can do to make it as a yoga teacher, because then you have retention and you have people showing up for class.
I love that.
That would be my biggest
And then you also have a wonderful community that's stronger and more connected, and that's just good for everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's one of my great joys in life is connecting people.
Yeah. And that's a way of being of service as well, because you're connecting people that could maybe help each other to go to the next level at whatever they're doing.
Yeah, and a more resilient community is a happier community. I mean, everyone gets happier.
Absolutely.
Well, I'll see if there's any more questions, but I think we've sweated long enough in Elephant HQ. I turned off the. Okay, good. I turned off the AC because it's climate changing. Right. Some stuff about vegan cheese. Here's a bunch of interviews I did. Oh yeah, Miyoko. I think that's who I was saying.
It's so damn good.
And her butter is amazing. Yeah, Sunlight Yoga Publishers, whoever you are, you need to write on Elephant. I like you. I like the comments. All right. Danae, totally off topic, but wanted to mention that you, Waylon, inspired me. I paid her. When you've sometimes mentioned how you used to volunteer at... so we have a blog actually on the Shambhala Sun Summer Camp. It's a great, mindful summer camp for children 10 to 16 years old. I'll be volunteering this summer in Plum Village. How cool. Thich Nhat Hanh's monastery in the children's program, assisting the monastics to offer mindfulness practices. So inspired to be of service.
Waylon's such a good egg.
My heart is brimming with joy, so thank you for role modeling. Thank you, Danae. And expressing appreciation is also an act of generosity and mindfulness, so thank you so much. Thanks for thinking. And there's a way to write for Elephant, and if you'd like to check out Amy's book, what was your book again? Yoga Business?
Art and Business of Teaching Yoga. Taro and I wrote it.
All right, let's bow out before we have an interruption. 2, 1, 0. Oh, she's not coming in.
Thank you.
Thank you, Amy. Always love connecting
Thanks
with you.
for having me here. It's wonderful to see you, as always.
Yeah. Keep on rocking.
Thanks
Amy
for coming,
Ippoliti.
everybody.
And check out her book.